Welcome everyone, as we are sponsored by Shalom Fogel, Lila Nishmas Yaakov Zev ben Yehuda Arya, Rivka Bas Yaakov Yosef, Sivya Miriam Bas God, Yosef ben Sion ben Yaakov Zev, and for the great shidduch for Chaya Tzivya Bas Shoshana Gittel, we're sponsored by Baruch Ian, Lila Nishmas Yaakov Chaim ben Abba, Esther Bas Yona, Avram ben Shmuel HaKohen, and Lefuah Shalema for Liba Bas Anya. We're sponsored for the Lefuah Shalema of Toiba Roiza Bas Hinda, and for great zivugim for A.B. Spry's daughter and grandchildren. We're sponsored for the spiritual, emotional, and physical protection of Yeshua Menachem Mendel ben Bela Shendel Rivka. We're sponsored by Eddie Chazan for the safety of Klal Yisrael and the Nitzachon and safety of the IDF, and we're sponsored by Menachem Umansky with a tefillah that all those that are looking for their zivug should find it quickly and easily. We want to welcome in everybody. It's great to have 25 Zoomers here with us at the start of the evening. We are holding on the bottom line of Chafei Amid Beis, Rav Menashe. So the Gemara tells us Rav Menashe hava ozil lebeit Torasa. He was traveling to Beit Torasa. And remember, we said if you meet up with unscrupulous characters, then it's a good idea to tell them that you're going further than you're planning to go. So they will, wait to cause mischief. And by the time you arrive at their destination, it will be too late for them to be doing their plans, their evil. So Rav Menashe employed this. He was traveling to Beit Torasa. Pagu Bei Ganvei, he met up with some thieves. Amulei, so they asked him, La'on Ka'ozlis, to where are you going? So Amalahem, he told them, Le'Pumpadisa, to far off Pumpadisa. Kimata LeBeit Torasa, as soon as they reached Beit Torasa, Parish, they ran through the gates. Amrulei, so the thieves said to them, Talmida de Yehuda Ramoat. He said to Amrulei, they said to him, are you the disciples of Yehuda, the deceitful one? Amalahu Yodisulei, you know him, and you're calling such a tzaddik Yehuda Ramah? Yerava de lahavu hano inche b'shante. You should be excommunicated, because they acted disrespectfully to somebody as great as Rabbi Yehuda. Ozlu avdu genevta esim detatnshnin. They exercised their trade of thievery for 22 years, but v'loy atzachu. They barely were able to make ends meet. Kaven the chazu, when they realized that they weren't having us atzlacha, asu kulu tovu shamtayu. All of them asked for their excommunication to be removed, and they apologized and showed contrition for calling Rabbi Yehuda the deceitful. V'havabu chad girdana, there was one tailor, one weaver. D'loi asi l'shriye shamtei, he didn't come to apologize, to remove his excommunication, and Achla Arya, he was eaten by a lion. Hainu de Imre Inche, Girdana Deloy Taizen, a weaver that is not shamefaced and that is not regretful, Shata Botzir Mishneh, he will have years deducted from his years. Now, Tochazi Ma Ben Ganvei Bavel will list them there, it's Israel. Now, a bandit is more ferocious than a thief. But the bandits, even though they were worse, the bandits of Eretz Yisrael, they had respect for Rabbi Akiva, and they said, Ashrei Rabbi Akiva v'Talmidav, while the thieves of Bavel spoke disparagingly about Rabbi Yehuda. That's the effect of Eretz Yisrael on people. All right, we want to welcome in our 28 Zoomers, Baruch Ian, Dr. Black, Yaakov Warman, Mel Zachter, Shelley Zeitlin, Yitzi Fuchs, Saba, Shalom Fogel. Avigdor Fried. Well, Victor, if I would have known, I would have worn my Shabbos sticker begadim. You didn't forget about us. That's wonderful. You knew where to find us. It's wonderful to see. By the way, you're looking younger. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. I see the land of Eretz Yisrael agrees with you.
Yes.
Baruch Hashem. Shalom Fogel, Yisrael Fisher, Nachman Chapler, Menachem Umansky, Dr. Guy, Shimon Klein, Michal Avram Chavin, Eddie Chazan, who was that? Menachem Umansky, Marshall Castle, Avigdor Fried, Moshe Lehman, Mo Kushner, Yitzi Muller, Richard Rosenzweig, Rabbi Kranz, and Avram Rezepkowitz. It's good to have you back. You've been very, very missed. Ilya Shutman, as we learn for Rus Bas Eugene, Abe Arbach, Danny Vogel, and David Helfgott. So we start the new Mishnah in honor of Avigdor. We're backing up all the way to the new Mishnah. Okay.
Where's Mark then? I haven't heard Mark's in a while. Mark.
You know, Mark, he gets up very early in the morning, and he's using that as a rotten excuse not to come on. A completely rotten, terrible, I know he's listening to this, rotten, terrible, and we miss him tremendously. Same thing is true with Aaron Swade. Aaron Swade is also dealing with the late hour, and so is Irving Fishbaum, although Irving made it last night and the night before. Okay.
How about Barry? Where's he been?
Barry is not feeling well. I spoke to Barry, and he said he's trying to come, but he hasn't been feeling well. Here we have Reuven Shannon. I was mafsik in between the bracha and the drink. I got so excited that Reuven Shannon is coming on as our 30th Zoomer of the evening.
What did you say Mark's excuse was? That four-letter W word?
Yeah.
No, that's a bad one.
Yeah, but he doesn't have enough help, and he's up like in middle of the night. It's he tells me that he's out by 7:30. He's sleeping. Anyway, welcome, Reuven Shannon. We're going to, in your honor, we're going to start from the new Mishnah on Daf Chavav. So we're going to back up. I rewound the tape. People don't even know what that means anymore.
Backed up twice already.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, listen, I back up for special people. You know what I mean, Marshall.
I do.
Bas Yisrael lo tiyaled es ha'ovedis kechavim. A Bas Yisrael, a Jewish woman, should not be a midwife for a pagan. Because what are you bringing another pagan into the world? Because she's helping to bring into the world a child to worship idolatry. But a pagan is allowed to deliver a Bas Yisrael. The idea being that we assume that she's not alone with the Bas Yisrael, and there are other people around, so therefore we don't suspect her of committing murder. Bas Yisrael, loitonik benosha loivedis kechavim. A Bas Yisrael should not nurse a child of a pagan, because again, she's helping a child of a pagan come into the world. But a pagan wet nurse could nurse the child of Yisrael in our home with other people around. Tan Rabbanan. Now we're going to see that there is a question of how far we should suspect the pagan. We're also going to see that you could do certain things for a guy if they offer pay, because if you don't do it for pay, it could develop ava, it could develop enmity, it could develop animosity. So Tan Rabbanan, Bas Yisrael lo tiyaled es oived kechavim, a Jewish girl, a Beis Yaakov girl, should not deliver a pagan, mipnei shemaledes ben lavedis kechavim, because she's bringing into the world a child that will worship idolatry. V'ovedis kechavim lo tiyaled es Bas Yisrael, and a Goyish nursemaid should not deliver a Bas Yisrael mipnei shechashudin al shvichas damim. This is the opinion of Rameir. Rameir says, regardless if anybody is around, you shouldn't have a pagan midwife because she might kill the child. The Chacham say, a pagan midwife can give birth to, can deliver a Jewish woman when there are Yidden standing and watching, because then there's nothing that she could do. But even the Rabbanan agree it shouldn't be done if it's just a midwife and the Jewish pregnant woman. Now, Rameir says it doesn't even help if somebody is standing there, because when she puts her hand in to take out the baby, she could press on the fontanelle and crush the child and do it in a clandestine way. Even if other people are standing by, we still don't trust the pagan. Sometimes she will put her hand on the delicate forehead, the delicate fontanelle of the baby. She'll push it in and crush the child, and she'll get away with it. A woman taunted her friend who was a midwife for Jews, and she taunted her and she said, Molda Yehudaisa, Bas Molda Yehudaisa. You're a midwife for Jews, the daughter of a midwife for Jews. Shame on you that you're helping the Jews. Amrullah, so she said in her defense, oh, you should know how many of them I killed. You should know how many Jewish children I killed. Nefishin bishta dahi itzasa, the evil that this woman did, speaking about ourselves, I spilled Jewish blood, ki ufya denara, like the swift current of the river. The Rabbanan say that it's not true. The Rabbanan say she was just pushing away the taunt. Amalei lohi b'milsa ba'almahu dikmisa. She was just brushing aside the taunt, but she never did that because the Rabbanan hold that a woman would be afraid to kill somebody right in full view of people watching. Now, the Mishnah says, Bas Yisrael loy tonik. A Jewish wet nurse should not nurse a pagan because it's helping a pagan, it's helping an idolater to survive. Tan Rabbanan, Bas Yisrael loy tonik b'no shel ovedes kechavim. Because she helps to raise a child for idolatry. And here again, Rameir says, regardless if there's people around, a Goyish, a pagan wet nurse should not nurse a Jewish child. She's suspected of murder. Here, the concern of murder is that we're afraid that maybe she might smear on her nipple some poison. Div Rameir, that's the opinion of Rameir. The Chacham say, you could have a pagan wet nurse when other people are watching, but not when they're alone. Even if other people are watching, she could still, in stealth, kill the child. The Zimnan, the Shaifale Sama, Ledad Me'avroi, she'll smear some poison and some arsenic on her nipple outside, Vikatlale, and kill the baby. v'tzricha, and they have to argue in both cases. Because if they just teach the case of the midwife, if people are around, it's permitted. She wouldn't be able to kill someone because everybody is looking. Other people are around. But the wet nurse, she could smear some poison on her nipple before she comes into the room. I might think the Rabbanan agree with Rameir. On the other hand, it's only by the wet nurse that Rameir says even if people are standing there, it's not allowed. But he come Rameir the Asr because people around don't help. The Shaifalei Sam Ladad Meyadvroi. She might smear some poison on her nipple from the outside. But a midwife with people standing there, it's not possible. I might think even Rameir agrees with the Rabbanan, it's okay. And therefore, tzricha, we have to have both cases. V'mini, asked the Gemara, Yehudis, miyaledes oivedes kechavim b'schar, a Jewish midwife could deliver a pagan if she's paid, avalei bechina, but not for free. Says the Gemara, no. The reason why, really, you're not supposed to be miyala the child to Avoda Zara. But if you're being paid money, then what's your excuse not to do it? So there, if you don't do it, it's going to generate animosity. In order not to generate animosity, you should know that Ava is a very big concern. That's why when you go into a hospital and there are two people in the room, a Yid and a guy, you should make sure to say to the guy, I hope you feel better. Because it says, Mevakwin Chayle Akam, together with Chayle Yisrael, Mibnei Eva, because of animosity. Savar Rav Yosef L'Meimar, Rav Yosef figured to say, Oludei Oivedes Goichavim B'Shapsa B'Schar Shari. Now here we're not talking about if the delivery involves a biblical offense. But if the delivery only involves a rabbinical offense, so he felt that since Haim Amru, V'Haim Amru, they said you're not supposed to deliver on Shabbos a guy, but because of Ava, they relaxed it. So that's what he thought. Amalei Abayas, so Abayas says, no, because you could wiggle out of animosity. You could explain, and this is a logical thing. Didon de mintere shapsa. Let's mute people over here. Didon, our babies, the mechal shapsa, didon de mintere shapsa, our children that keep Shabbos, mechalin alay, because we explain them that we're allowed to be mechal one Shabbos in order that the baby should keep many Shabbos. Didchu, but your child, the loy mintre Shabsa, which will not keep Shabbos, so loy mechalina, we're not allowed to, that's great to Shabbos, and that's logical, and it won't cause Ava. Savar Rab Yosi L'Meimar, anuke b'schar shari, that you could nurse a pagan child if you're being offered pay, mishum Ava, because if not, it will generate enmity. Amalei Abaya says no. There's a way to duck it. There's a way not to do it and give it a plausible explanation. Because Yachal L'Meimar, you could excuse yourself, Ipnu Yehi, if the wet nurse is a single girl. Now when she when she nurses and weakens herself, it makes her less vivacious. So Ipnuyahi, she could say, I'm not going to nurse because Ba'ina Lin Suve, I want to get married. And Ieshis Ishi, and if she's married, she could say, Loikam is damna ba'ape gavra. I don't want to look foul and soiled in front of my husband. Savar Rav Yosef Lameimer, Rav Yosef figured to say, and if you're just joining us, we are 4 lines from the bottom of Daf Chavav. Amud Al Chavav is a good daf, not just because Avigdor is joining us, but because it's the gematria of 26 of Yud Kei Vav Kei, the ineffable name.
Sorry, Rabbi, I seem to have missed something. How can an unmarried woman nurse?
She can nurse. A woman could activate her breasts.
Maybe she's divorced.
No, a woman could, a pnuya could also activate. There's ways to activate the milk. If the baby shows an interest, there's ways to activate the milk. Savar Rav Yosef Lameimer, Hadisanya, that which we learned, Ha'oivdei Kechavim, pagans, V'royei Behemedaka, and repeat offenders, even Jews who shepherd small livestock and steal in other people's fields, so they're repeat offenders and they're a menace to the public. Loi malin, you don't have to take them out of a bar to save their life. V'loi maridim, but you can't push them into the bar. So, even though you're not supposed to bring them up, but asuke b'schar shari, but if they offer to pay you, it's permitted, misham eva, because otherwise there would be animosity. Amalei Abaye, so Abaye says no, you could wiggle your way out without animosity. Yachalaima like koi bri aigra. My son, I see him perched at the edge of a roof, and if I don't run there now, he might fall off the roof. Inami, or you could say nakita li zimna lebei davar, that it's my turn to take my job with the government, and if I don't go, I could get into serious trouble. Tani Rabbi Yavo, Kamei Rabbi Yochanan, pagans and shepherds of small livestock, loy malin, you don't lift them out of a bar. However, v'loy marin, you don't push them in. Aval haminim. Now we'll see that the Gemara thinks over here that a heretic, is a pagan. There is a opinion that a min is Maimin Yeshu Noitzri, is a believer in the Nazarene, is a believer in Yoshka. Aval Haminim v'Amasarais, those are Moiser, informers, v'Amumrim, and renegade Jews, Hayumaridin, you could push them into a bar, v'lay malin, and of course you don't bring them up. Amalei, so he says, what, a mummer you could push into a bar? But I learned the chalav that you have to return all the lost articles of your brother. The rabbi says, a mummer, you even have to return his lost article, and you say you could push him into a bar? You're maridin? So he says, Sami mikan mummer, erase the mummer. Says the Gemara, well, why don't you say there's a difference what kind of a mummer that he is? It's 2 types of mummer. There's a mummer l'teyavin, that's a lesser mummer. A mummer that eats ham because he has a lust for ham. And then there's a mummer l'hachis, that he doesn't have any interest in ham, but he's angry at God, and he wants to anger God. So v'lishnei like kan b'mumar eichel nevelis l'teyavin. You have a mitzvah to return his aveda, and you can't push him into the bar. Kan b'mumar eichel nevelis l'achas. If he's doing it to get Hashem angry, so then you can push him into the bar. Says the Gemara, kasavar. Let's mute people here. Okay. Kasavar, says the Gemara, he holds that oichel nevelas lahachis, that if somebody does it to anger God, that's already a min. That's minhu. That's already a min. Itmar, mummer, a renegade Jew, pligi Rav Achav Ravina, chad amalite oven, mummer, if he does it because he just has an appetite, a desire, his Yetzer Hara gets the better for him, that's a mummer. Lahachis, but if he does it to anger Hashem, that's a min. Minabe. V'chadam afilu lahachis, nami mummer. But what's a mum? Min. Elaizo min, that's a pagan. Meisvei, says the Gemara, achol pirush. Now here's a person who eats achol pirush echad. He eats a flea, or yitesh echad, or a gnat. How is that mummer? Oh, so that's clear that it means a mummer lahachis. Because if it's l'teyavan, who eats l'teyavan, a flea or a gnat? V'achad lahachisu. Must be that he's doing it to anger God, because nobody, even Marshall, doesn't have a lust to eat the flea. Maybe a cockroach, but a flea? Right?
Yeah, hot dog.
That about a flea? Says the Gemara, and yet Viktani mummer, he calls him a mummer. Says the Gemara, no, the reason why he wanted it is because he had a taiva. And what was his taiva? His taiva was to taste the taste of Isser. Now you'll say, what kind of a taiva is that? That's the pasuk. Mayim genuvim yimtaku. Stolen waters are sweet. Something that's forbidden is sweet. Awesome boy, limitim taima di isura. Amamar, hoyu maridin. They would lower him into the pit. Avaloi malin. Now it says that, let's say, an informer, you would push him down, but you don't bring him up. So that seems to be superfluous. Obviously, if you could push him in, surely you can't bring him up. That's the obvious question. So, by the way, Marshall, I hope you took note that we have 34 people, 16 more people, and you get a 6-pack of the best bourbon in town. So, you know,
I'm calling it already.
I would get on the phone, Marshall. I mean,
I scare too many people away, so I don't get on the phone too often.
just offer them an extra bottle. Now,
I am.
So ask the Gemara, let's get back to it. If you push him in, is there any question that you don't bring him up? Amar Rav Yosef bar Chama, Amar Rav Sheshes, here's the Chiddush. If there was, let's say they pushed the informer, let's say the informer fell in, and there was a handhold to get out of the bar, Migara, you could scrape it away so he can't get out. The Nokit lay Eila, and when he's saying, what are you doing? You could use a pretext, Va'amar, I'm afraid, I don't want my animal to go on that foothold and fall into the bar. Another case, if there was a rock on the mouth of the pit, you could cover the pit and leave him in the dark. Mechasa. And you could say, I wanted to cover the pit so that my animal shouldn't fall inside. Ravina Mashima Yasula Misalka. If there was a ladder, you could take it away. Amar Ba'ina Lachuse Bri Meigra. I needed it to help my child. My child is stuck on the roof. Now we come to circumcision. Oh, interesting. Now we come to circumcision. Tanarabanan.
Oh,
Tanarabanan. Just lie on the table, Marshall, like a good boy. Tanarabanan.
I hope your hands aren't cold.
Tanarabanan. You know, I was a sandik for a 52-year-old Russian. 52-year-old Russian that came from behind the Iron Curtain. And I have to tell you, he was so excited to do the bris. The Moyel was the famous Rami Cohn. Zichranu Lavracha, Zchusi Yagan Aleinu. Tanarabana. By the way, I recommend, there is a film that was produced about Rami Cohn. I think it was called The Last Partisan, or The Youngest Partisan. It's an astounding, here's a man that did thousands of bris milas. Here's a man who was very close to the Ribnitzer Rebbe. Very close to the Ribnitzer Rebbe. Ribnitzer Rebbe told him things, and he told him that he was not allowed to tell anybody what he told him. And you know, people think, wow, what a career. But the truth of the matter is that we didn't know him in his youth. In his youth, he had special papers, and because of that, he was able to save many Yidden's lives. He smuggled himself into Gestapo headquarters and stamped papers for families that they shouldn't be round up. It's really remarkable what one Yid could do. What Yehi Zichrei Baruch. He passed away during COVID. I had an interesting thing that I used to play tennis with him. He had a vacation house in Staten Island, and he had his own tennis court, and he used to ask me to come to play tennis with him. So a long time ago. Tan Rabban.
I believe there's a book with that name that came out.
Yes, correct.
About him.
Yes.
I read the book.
Yes, correct. The movie was made after the book. Avigdor, you knew him well, no? Avigdor.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
He was.
Yes, I did.
He was.
He was a remarkable person. He had a gun strapped to his over his foot because he did bris in very bad neighborhoods sometimes. He was once surrounded by a bunch of people were going to hurt him. He pulled out the gun. He said, "Who gets the first bullet?"
And by the way, he would have used the gun.
Sure, absolutely.
He used the gun as a partisan. One story that they told over there is that he felt that one of the partisans was going to kill him, and he went out with him and he jammed the partisan's gun, and the partisan actually shot him, and it backfired, and it killed the
partisan.
Yeah, killed the murderous partisan. It's interesting because in this he followed his Rebbe, the Ribnitzer Rebbe. The Ribnitzer Rebbe traveled through forests that were full of wolves. That is as remarkable as the stories of Rami Cohn is. Anybody who hasn't read the art scroll on the Ribnitzer Rebbe must read the art scroll on the Ribnitzer Rebbe. It's just a testimony of a man that's closer to a malach than a man. I mean, it's really, really remarkable. And the Ribnitzer Rebbe called the Satmar Rebbe the Greise. The Ribnitzer Rebbe called the Satmar Rebbe the Greise. Anyway,
What's the name of the film?
what?
What's the name of the
I
film?
think it's called The Youngest Partisan. You could get it on a flash drive in the Svarm stores. I highly recommend it.
I wrote the book a while back ago. You gave me.
So Taner Rabbanan, Yisrael mol esa oivek kechavim l'shum ger. A Yisrael could, of course, circumcise a guy who wants to convert. And the circumcision is part of the conversion process. Now, that's not a chiddush. The chiddush is la'afuke l'shum murna delay, that he can't do it if he's doing it to remove an infection. Says the Gemara, v'oivek kechavim lo yamol Yisrael, a pagan should not do mila on a yid because they're suspected of murder. Divrei Rameir. Rameir is very machmir about suspecting the guy about murder. V'chacham ma'imrim, that if other people are standing there, it's okay. V'chacham ma'imrim, v'chacham ma'al es Yisrael b'zman she'acherim aim delan gabay, when people are watching. Aval beinai, but alone, like. V'Rameir amafilu acherim aim delan gabay nami like, because he might tilt the izemel, the knife, and claim it was a mistake and render him a kur shavcha, make him sterile and also to marry a Yisraelis. The zimna nematzlei sakina, he'll tilt the knife, claiming it's an accident, or mashvalei kur shavcha. Says the Gemara, the Savar Rameir oivek kechavim lai. Does Rameir hold the pagan is not allowed to do a milah? V'raminu, ir she'ein by Reifa Yisrael, a city that doesn't have a Yiddish doctor, v'yesh ba Reifa Kusi, v'Reifa Oivek Kechavim, it has a Kusi doctor, or a pagan doctor, Yamal Oivek Kechavim, let the Oivek Kechavim doctor do it, v'al Yamal Kusi, the Rameir. So you see Rameir holds that a guy is allowed to do it. Rabbi Hudaimer Yamal Kusi, let the Kusi do it. Now, by the way, the reason why Rameir says that the guy should do it and not the Kusi is because we're afraid that the Kusi will do it, not l'shem Hashem, but will do it to the Demus Yaina, which they worshipped, the image of a dove. Now, but here we see that Rameir says that a guy could do it. So the Gemara says, Eipach, switch it around. Rameir Amal Yamal Kusi v'loy Oivek Kechavim, let the Kusi do it, not the guy. Rabbi Yehuda Oivek Kechavim loy Kusi. Says the Gemara, can't be. Does Rabbi Yehuda hold that the guy could do it? But Rabbi Yehuda holds that a guy cannot do the milah because his circumcision must be done by a yid. V'sav Rabbi Yehuda Oivek Kechavim shaper dami. V'tani Rabbi Yehuda Oimer Menayin l'milah b'Oivek Kechavim shipsula. How do we know that a guy cannot do the ritual of milah? Shenema va'ata esbrisi sishmar. You should keep my covenant. Don't switch it around. If you don't switch it around, so then how could Rameir say over here that a guy Shirayfe could do it? Rameir holds that a guy can't do it because he's suspected of either murder or making him a krif shafka. Says the Gemara, a doctor is different. Because a doctor is afraid of ruining his reputation. Here we're talking about, as we start the top of Chav Zayin, B'Roifei Mumcha, with a doctor that's an expert. If he's an expert to the public, mutter, because he would be afraid to damage his reputation, he would be afraid to lose his business. Okay, Rabbi Isai, we have a special night tonight because now, as we finish the daf, we do a chok